This weekend I took some time to myself to crochet, to enjoy the art of making one stitch after another, to slowly turn these ordinary stitches into something new. This crochet granny square vest pattern is by HayHay Crochet, and I will link to her tutorial below. The only difference is I added a shell stitch around the collar and the bottom hem. It's a really good pattern if you're first starting out making crochet clothing. Hey guys, welcome back to Go Sewly. I'm Sophia, and today we're going to make this heart-shaped vest. My inspiration to make this crochet vest was to take what I learned from HayHay Crochet and blend it with a heart-shaped granny square pattern by Jayda Institches, who's also on YouTube, and I'll link to hers below. You'll have to follow her tutorial or buy her pattern online in order to make these granny square heart shapes to get started. I wanted the band around my torso to have these little hearts and maybe to incorporate a larger heart in the center of the vest. So my first step is to make all of these granny squares. I made more than I needed because I can see myself using this to make a purse, a pillow, etc., etc. With my granny squares made, I join them into a band by attaching them at the edges. You can do this by crocheting a slip stitch through the back loops only of each panel, or you can use a darning needle. I used a hand sewing needle because I didn't have one, to sew them together. I find it so satisfying when you join them together and you can pull the thread and just see them become one object. With 5 panels connected together, it reached about 27 inches, which is great for me because measuring around my rib cage, I'm about 28 inches. And actually, if you stretch this material, it will reach about 30 inches, which is plenty for me to be able to put it on, take it off without any hassle. At this stage, I'm going to show you some directions that I'm going to flip up on the screen. I didn't record it on video, unfortunately, because I wasn't sure yet if I was doing it right. So here are some steps that you can take to begin the next row, which is essentially the same kind of technique as doing a granny square. You're going to do some double crochets, single crochets, some double crochets all along the top panel, and I'll put those directions up right now. To make this row, you're going to slip stitch into the very edge of your granny square. This is the chain 2 space, so the biggest hole that you see in the corner of your granny square. Then chain 1, insert 3 double crochets into the next space, chain 1, and insert another 3 double crochet into the next space, and so on and so forth until you get to the end, where you're going to work 3 double crochet into the final chain 2 space. For me, this resulted in 13 shells, which was important because we're making a heart and we need an odd number of shells to get it centered. Repeat this technique until you get halfway through your 3rd row. So at your 6th stitch in, you're going to fasten off, grab your next color, slip stitch into the edge of the previous color, and then work in your 3 double crochet, same as you did before, just in the new color. Fasten off, slip stitch your original color back into place, and then single crochet and double crochet as you did before across the rest of the pattern. The rest of your torso should follow a similar pattern, except you're going to switch out the number of colored shells that you make. and I'll leave that up here for reference. Once your heart is finished, crochet 3 more rows on top to complete the torso section. I found it very ironic that at this point I spilled some tea on myself that just happened to shape a heart. When you're done with your front section, it should look something like this. And then the back, I'm not going to show you on video because it's essentially the same thing. You're just working across 2 granny squares. You're doing your same granny square stitch across, and you're going up the same number of rows. So it's pretty much the same. You're just not going to do a heart, but if you wanted to, by all means go for it. And then for the straps, I'll show you real quick how to do those too. You can make each of these straps as one long piece that joins to the back, or as 2 pieces that join at the shoulder seam. I started with a slip stitch into the top end of my front panel. So right there we go. I chained 3, worked 2 double crochet into that space, chained 1, 3 double crochet, chain 1, and then ended with 3 double crochet. I turned my work, chained 3, made 3 double crochet into the next space, chain 1, and so on and so forth, and then continued on until I had about 14 rows. That seemed to be the right size for me, but test it out for yourself. When you get to the end, you'll be able to work your double crochets into the top of the back panel, so you don't even have to do any kind of slip stitching to join the panels together if you don't want to. You can crochet right into the end of that, so it's a nice clean finish and it just looks really good. So with that said, we're going to go into the final reveal. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.